like it. We'll be live on Facebook in about 5 seconds.
We are now recording.
All right. Well, let's get this show on the road. We're a small but mighty group this evening, a group of 4. This is the Suamico Village Board meeting for Monday, March 6th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. Just a reminder, anyone who comes forward and would like to speak, please provide your name and address into the microphone as this proceedings are being recorded. At this time, looking at the agenda, I would look for an approval from the board to a motion to approve the evening's agenda.
I would like to make a motion to approve the evening's agenda.
Thank you. Trustee Romas has offered a motion to approve the evening's agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Trustee Andrews. Any other further questions or discussion on the evening's agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the evening's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 5 this evening is public appearances. Public appearances are intended for anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak on an item not on the agenda. Be aware that any item that you bring forward, it cannot be voted on this evening, could possibly be discussed, might be referred back to staff for future action at a meeting in the near future. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and speak to the evening's agenda or an item not on the agenda? Anyone? Going once, twice, 3 times. No one here to speak for public appearances. Thank you. We're going to move over to item number 6 this evening. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of previous minutes of the village board dated March 2nd, 2026. Item B, January and February 2026 treasurer's report. Item C, February 2026 municipal court report. Item D, January 2026 animal control report. Item E, February 2026 recreation report. Item F, February 2026 fire department report. Item G, resolution 26005, authorizing the allocation of the village of Suamico's stadium district dollars for economic development purposes. All right. Looking at the consent agenda, any questions or discussion on any item on the consent agenda this evening? Anyone? No one with discussion? I would look for a motion then on the evening's consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Trustee Andrews has offered a motion to approve the evening's consent agenda. That has been seconded by Trustee Romas. Last chance for any discussion on any item on the consent agenda. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the evening's consent agenda, items A through G, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries 4-0. We are efficient, if nothing else, at 4-0 this evening. All right, item number 7, Public Works and Utilities items. Item number 7A is the 2025 MS4 Annual Report. Director Smith's back from his plowing expedition.
We had fun.
Looks like you got some rest.
Yep.
Excellent.
All right, well, thank you. The 2025 MS4 Annual Report. So the village is required to comply with its municipal separate storm sewer system permit each year. The permit requires the approval of an annual report. The village board must take public comments, review, and approve the annual report. The 2025 report must be submitted to the DNR no later than March 31st of each year. The report details past activities and action to determine compliance with the permit conditions and requirements over the past year. The village currently is meeting all of the MS4 requirements. Yearly stormwater activities include implementation of public outreach, education, and involvement, enforcement of erosion control and ordinances, enforcement of illicit discharges, ordinances, and screening of all major storm water outfalls for illicit discharge, enforcement and management of stormwater for new and redevelopment and post-construction sites, municipal pollution prevention planning, and maintenance of all villages developed urban area stormwater quality management plan and TMDL implementation. So those are just kind of the highlights of what we do through the stormwater, through our permit each year and what our stormwater utility does as far as oversight throughout the village. As it currently stands, the village is meeting its MS4 general permit, and we met all the avenues that we needed to this year again. Everything in the report that you see before you is, again, all activities that we perform throughout the year, meeting all the criteria necessary. A lot goes into it, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Director Smits on this item? I mean, we do this every year. It's been a good
Yep.
report every year.
Nobody brings any questions or comments from the public normally, but we do use this session, as a public comment period if anybody were to attend and have questions, and obviously they can always just stop in or give us a call and ask questions too.
Well, I suspect that if it hadn't been a blizzard, they probably would have been here on the appointed night for this meeting, and we would have filled the seats. But now, being a nice day and not a blizzard, I'm sure everybody decided to stay home and take your word for it. It's a good bit. Any other questions for Director Smits? Anything?
Should we
You-
open the
You
floor?
appear to
for-
have a question.
Should we open the floor for public comment?
We could open the floor for public
Motion to open the
comment.
floor for public comment?
We have a motion from trustee Romas to open the floor for public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second from trustee McKeefery to open the floor to public comment? All right. All those in favor of opening the floor for public comment on this item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Is there anyone who would like to come forward from the public and speak to this item?
Come on, Scott. You gotta have something.
Motion to close the floor for public comment?
Okay, we have a motion from trustee Romas to close the floor to public comment. I'll offer a second on that motion. Any other further discussion on this exceedingly interesting and long public comment?
No questions.
No? All right, all those in favor of closing the floor to public comment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those opposed. All right, that motion carries 4-0.
Motion to approve the 2025 MS4 annual report?
There we go. Motion from trustee Romas to approve this item, the 2025 MS4 report. And a second from
Second.
trustee Andrews. All right, any last minute further discussion on this item from the board membership? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the 2025 MS4 annual report, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed? Very well, that motion carries 4-0. Item 7B this evening, this is also going to be Director Smits. This is the 2025 Consumer Confidence Report. Director Smits?
All right, the CCR, as we know it, or the Consumer Confidence Report, is required by the EPA to go out each year by July 1st, and we normally send them out with our second quarter bills, so each utility customer gets a copy of this with their bill. We post it on our website, and we share it, where we can. The CCR is just distributed to all community members for all the previous year monitoring results that we had for any water sampling that we were required to sample for in 2025. Again, it identifies any detected contaminants, makes sure that we're in compliance with all drinking water rules, and in any educational language, and is based on the information reported to the Wisconsin DNR throughout the year. Again, we post it here or on our website. We send it with every utility bill in the second quarter, and just want to share this information with our customers.
All right, other questions for Director Smits? I have one if there are none. Was there anything in the report, you've done these reports now for a number of years, and with some of these trace elements, in particular, we look at radon and radium, copper, lead in particular. Is there anything within these elements from year to year that stands out in this particular report for you? Anything that,
No, I mean, we're pretty much status quo with our water quality sampling year to year. The only thing that really fluctuates is our radium. It does trend up and down a little bit over the years. It's actually been trending back down a little bit, which is good. But usually lead and copper is pretty similar year to year. But We don't see a lot of variation, through it's the same aquifer that we pump in at all of them, and water's pretty similar throughout.
Well, in so many other communities, I mean, this aquifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but this aquifer goes past Shawano and,
Oh, yeah, north of like Coleman area is about this aquifer. But yeah, we noticed the aquifer has definitely recharged a lot over the years. It was quite low for a period of time before Brown County, all the other municipalities in Brown County went to Central Brown or Green Bay surface water. The aquifer has really recharged. It's changed the parameters a little bit, but everything is still in compliance with what we're required for with the DNR.
excellent. Other questions for Director Smits?
Are there theories on why the radium fluctuates at all?
A lot of what I learned is a lot of it's exposure to bedrock. So when the aquifer was going down, it had more exposure to bedrock and shale down in that aquifer. And as the water then refilled that aquifer, radium levels actually went up. So there's some sort of chemical reaction with exposure to air in that aquifer to the exposed limestone and shale rock and that stuff that once it recharged started increasing our levels of radium again. So that's why well 2, over time, exceeded its 5 picocurie limit. And we're kind of flirting right around the threshold at well 3 yet. We're below it, but we're, it's hanging in the same, just below 5, and we already know at, our new well that we need treatment over there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah, thanks, Sandy, for your work on this and keeping us in compliance.
Yep, thank you. And thanks to our water utility guys, they do the bulk of the work for the utility.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve the consumer confidence.
You need a motion.
Just informational.
Oh, only information, never mind. No motion necessary, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item C then. Item 7C this evening is the Zen Way roadway and right-of-way acceptance. Director Smith.
All right.
Thank you.
The owner of the Zenway condo development would like to discuss the possibility of dedicating the private road to the village and making it a public street. We relax zoning requirements on condo plats with reduced roadway width, setback requirements, etc., because the road is private. It's more like a driveway. We don't care how it's built or how private utilities are installed within that private condo development. Before the owner spends any time or money on pursuing the village accepting the private road as a public street, we wanted to bring it to the Public Works and Utility Commission and the village board for their opinion. There are two options that we see this in which way it could go. We could accept the right-of-way and construct the road as a public street, or the developer could vacate the existing condo plat and recreate 2 separate condominium plats. By creating the 2 separate condo plats, it removes the responsibility of the future maintenance costs of the private roadway for the units that are already served by the public street off of Chambers Crossing and Farmington Way. The owner has chosen to dedicate this right-of-way at this point in time for a number of reasons and is asking the village board to consider them for this decision. The village currently maintains a sewer and water easement through the center of the development. So down Zenway, we have a 50-foot easement already with water and sewer that serves everything up in the Chambers development down to our main interceptor. The road hasn't been built yet, and we would require the intersection to be reconfigured, subgrade soil testing, full curb throughout the roadway, along with the village's road construction spec be followed. And our staff time for inspection and observation be included in that. The village would be scheduled to already pick up garbage and recycling on this private drive, similar to a public street. The road would be 25 feet back to back rather than what we would prefer is 28 as our spec, so it would be a few feet short of what we would require. The snow removal challenges that private developments face, and the condo owners pay the same amount of tax rate based on the fair market value for village services as all other single-family homes. So the road is not in yet. This is a recent picture that was taken. That would be the start or the ingress at the intersection that would be designed to go in there. and that would need to be reconfigured. It's in a half cul-de-sac right now, if you're unfamiliar with where it's at. So tonight, the developer's here to talk about it with you guys. We did meet with the Public Works and Utility Commission in February, and they weren't against it. There was some stipulations that would need to be met before, they would for sure support it. But it is a tricky situation, I guess I'd say, with, the rules of a condo plat and why condo plats are private. And I think we'll open it up here for discussion.
Okay. Questions for Director Smits?
And you said it was 2 feet short on the width?
It'd be 3 feet narrower, so I guess it hasn't came to you guys yet, but another private development that the village is planning to accept is Wisteria Circle. I'm sure you've heard about that. That was a private condo development, similar to this. Had a roadway through the center, or through the middle of that, and the village is looking to take over that with ownership. But that one is built identical to the adjacent streets within the Whisper Ridge subdivision, so it is 28 back-to-back, and built exactly like those other streets. This one would be a little bit narrower. It has not been built yet, so it's good timing on the owner to bring this forward, because, we could step in and make sure that everything meets our road construction specifications, and follow it through from this point forward. But with the setup and the way this condo plat was platted, it would be tight to get that from 25 to 28 feet. I guess I don't know the setbacks of where it would be, but I think corners of some of those houses would be probably within 5 feet or so of that.
It's the setback that would be to go wider, or setback?
So if you look at some of the those are building footprints right there. Some of those corners are getting pretty close. If we go 28 feet wide, I'd still think you got maybe 8-10 feet or so from the back of the curb to the building.
There should be more than that.
A little more than that?
25 feet back.
Right now they're
Setback. So we have 35 on Farmington, so it's a 25-foot setback on that road.
from the road, or from the,
Right away. No, from the road.
from the road.
Why don't you come forward, could you come forward and give us your name and address for the record? People just hear this booming voice out in the middle of,
All right. Hey, I'm Scott Sonderman, 2795 Stone Creek Circle in Suamico.
thank you.
So right now in Farmington Way, those houses have a 35-foot setback from the road. The Zen Way part of that development was supposed to have a 25-foot setback from the road. The reason we planned on doing a private drive was actually to get the road slightly narrower and to do the reduced setback, because there are a lot of wetlands back there, and the only way to, I guess, utilize that as developable land was to go with the condo plat. Even with the reduced setbacks, there's only homes on one side of that road for part of it, and part of it, there's actually homes on neither side of the road. So the road cost is very high for the amount of houses we're putting back there. I planned on keeping it as a private road, but just in the last several months, some of the residents of the condos on Farmington Way have decided that they don't want to be part of a private road, even though that was they are one of a 33-unit condo development. So it's getting to be a I don't want to say a legal thing, but they did consult an attorney and stuff, and they're trying to figure out how they are not going to be responsible for the future maintenance of Zen Way. And if I would remove the 17 homes on Farmington Way and Chambers Crossing from that condo plat, we'd only have 16 homes on Zen Way, and that would leave the financial burden of the future, plowing and sealing and resurfacing of that road on those 16 units. And I just see it as being a issue, down the road, not necessarily now or 5 years from now, but 10, 15 years down the road, it could be a problem. So in order to alleviate that issue, I just wanted to investigate if the village would entertain the idea of taking over the road. And then I did talk to Verbitcher about the expected costs that I would incur doing this. So when we built that road, Andy should have, actually you probably don't have the specs on how it was built, but the subgrade is all built the same as all the roads in Suamico already, as far as how much stone is there and the compaction and all that stuff. Obviously, you guys would want to have an independent contractor go out there and do like compaction tests or whatever, probably, barrier testing, go and verify that everything was done according to, your specs. And then, I was gonna do a reduced asphalt, I was gonna do 3 inches of asphalt rather than 4. So we'd have to bump that up to 4-inch asphalt. The curb, I was gonna do 18-inch rollback curb, and, Andy says we should do 24-inch rollback curb. So, there's just a bunch of different things that would have to change. But right now, we just have the gravel down, the water and sewer is in, the gas and electric is in, fiber optic lines are in. So we could still regrade it and change the curb and change the intersection, without, recreating the wheel. But if I wait until the end of this year, that's all gonna be paved, and it'll be a lot bigger issue to try to make it meet village specs. So basically, I'm here to avoid future headaches.
We all want to avoid future headaches.
What we're really being, go ahead.
I got a question, probably for Andy here. You mentioned the 18-inch curb, so if you went with an 18-inch curb on each side, are we gaining an extra foot on the road width?
No, you'd be losing extra width. So 28 feet normally has the 4 feet of curb in it. So we'd be looking at bumping it, we would be expecting to maximize as much as possible. And we typically don't go less than 24-inch curb, just for the structurability of it, it's just a little more solid.
All right,
But 24 would give you an extra added width to where he's at right now.
okay.
I don't know, was yours 25 with the 18 right now?
I believe so, yeah.
So I'd gain you a little bit of width, gain you, a foot each way, or 1 foot total.
So if our normal roads are 28 feet wide, with 4 feet of that being curb, then our actual road is 24 feet of drivable
Yep.
area, say. So if we're currently at 25 feet, and 4 feet of that will be curb, we're at 21 feet of drivable.
It's supposed to be 2 11-foot lanes, I think, is what I thought your plan showed.
I think that is what the plan shows, yeah.
Yeah, it should have been two 11-foot lanes plus the 18-inch curb on each side.
So you would be asking me to actually go to a 26-foot wide road then? Because we'd have to have the 2 11-foot lanes plus 4 feet for curb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you do 26?
At this point, we can kind of do, I guess, whatever we want.
Because it's not in yet.
It's not in yet. If we go too much wider, the driveways are gonna start getting short. Right now, we got 25-foot driveways, so you can actually pull a car in there and get out and have parking in your driveway. If we go down to, at a 20-foot driveway, people are gonna be hanging out in the road or, hitting garage doors. It gets pretty tight.
Okay. Other questions?
What you're really asking for from the board tonight, looks like, is whether we would consider it.
Right.
And if we
Yeah,
would
at this point,
consider
it's
it, then you
consideration.
would go back to, I'm assuming, stop me if I'm wrong here anywhere, but you go back to the committee would work through it, figure out all these little details, and if you guys as a committee come to a solution that makes sense for the village, then you would present that to us as a final blessing of this.
Yep, and I think it's more so for the confidence of the developer to not go spend, several thousand in design with Veerbacher, because they're gonna, I'm sure, put a cost to, give Scott a cost to say it's gonna cost X, Y, Z for regrading it, adding the additional curb, they gotta add some storm. There's gonna be, reconfiguring that intersection, there's gonna be quite a bit of curb to pull out there and redo all that. So I think it's more so to give Scott the confidence to either A, spend some more money on design and see where he's at, or to not, because it's not gonna go anywhere. Doesn't wanna spend any money if it's gonna come back to you guys and then be denied.
My
at a later
position
point in
on
time.
this is I'm not plowing the roads. I'm not maintaining the roads. That's your department, right? You guys are experts at that.
No, I wouldn't
So-
go that far.
Fair enough. So I'm gonna lean heavily on Department of Public Works and the committee on this one. So I'm open to it if you find a way that solves the problem.
And I'll add one more wrinkle to it. It's really more of a policy decision for the village board if they're willing to accept what was supposed to be a private road in exchange for allowing for more density than your zoning code allows.
Can you expand?
Because
on that?
when a developer comes in and they say, well, okay, Village of Suamico, you have a zoning code, and the zoning code says I want our village to look like this, certain setbacks from the roadway, certain setbacks from house to house. You can allow a developer to basically ignore that in exchange for something. And in this case, that something is having a private roadway so that it's not a public road. And the maintenance of that roadway is not on the village. And so that was kind of like an agreement made back in, when was this, 2020?
Yeah, probably.
2021. And so now the developer is coming back and saying, well, I still don't want to follow your zoning code, and I also want you to take on this road as a public road now. Is that a policy that the village board wants to entertain? That's, I think, the big
I think it's the
question.
principle of it is now what happens when the next developer comes in and says, well, you just did this for this one or that one, and now you're not going to allow me to do this, or you're not going to accept my development.
Well, I think you bring up, I appreciate your bringing that to light, because that's something I wasn't considering, is that these lots would then become what, non-conforming to our current zoning?
Correct.
Is that just based on the setback, or is that based on, I mean, from the setback from the road? Because how is it different from the houses on like Farmington Way?
I think side yard and.
Yeah,
front
your
yard are
side yards, so it's part of a condo plat,
Correct.
right? So with your condo plat, you don't have to follow any setback requirements. If you were to come, say back in 2020, and have that approved as a non-condo plat, it'd be rejected because it didn't follow our zoning code. But because you did a private development, that gives the board the opportunity to approve that and ignore their own zoning code.
That does kind of change things for me a little bit, right? I'm curious how far off from our new 70-foot width and rules we are if we did go with a road that was, oh, if we went with this concept of village or maintained road. Do we know that?
We don't have a new condo plat. I couldn't tell you the exact setbacks on it, but it would definitely be a lot less, for sure.
Sounds like we would be looking at the driveway distance from, the distance from the road is a big difference as well, right? 5 feet, 20 versus 25.
Well, the driveways on Farmington, I believe, are 35 feet, and the driveways on the new road are 25 feet. So it's actually a 10-foot difference.
Okay, and then if we did the width as being recommended, those driveways would be shorter, or did I?
I think it would take 1 foot off each driveway,
Oh, okay, okay.
or 6 inches off each driveway. So that'll be minimal.
Minimal, okay, okay.
And so just for discussion, the zoning code for residential development, say R1, the setback from the right-of-way for a house should be 35 feet. You're looking at probably less than 10 feet from the right-of-way, the new right-of-way on Zen Way, if it were to be
And that's if we
approved.
followed the 50-foot easement.
So going from 35 feet to about 10 feet, I mean, like, look at number 5 here. Whoopsies. Until we got a new plat, which is kind of why we're here, before Scott spends the money on somebody to design this, we don't have exact numbers, but, I mean, I'm looking at 5 and you see the dashed line. It's this 5 line here, that's the house, but then the dashed line is the right-of-way.
The dash line is the 50 feet, right, Scott?
Is it 50 or 60? It probably is probably 50.
I think it's 50.
So that's just one discussion point. The other would be your side yard setbacks. They were reduced with the zoning code changes this past summer. The distance between houses in R1 is 16 feet, and you're looking at, it's 10 feet, correct?
Yeah.
Between here. So he benefited from having a condo plat approved with the agreement that this road would be private. And now we're looking to potentially take that on as a public roadway. That's really the question, if the village board is willing to reconsider and take on all future costs with that. Scott, I am curious if you can elaborate on the other option. So there is an option for you to have a condo plat split and take Farmington Way off of the Zen Way
So
requirements.
I didn't bring that up.
Okay,
Basically, I talked to the attorney who drafted all this stuff, And he said that right now, he's got a handful of different condo developments on his desk that have issues with private roads. So he said that his advice to me was to see if I could get it turned into a public road first.
Okay.
If we don't do that, he thought we should try to turn that private road into a limited common element, and then just like basically tell the people on the new road that they're going to be assessed for the expenses of that road, and the people on Farmington Way wouldn't be. But we still have to redo the plat in order to do that.
Okay.
So, right now, the like irrigation for the condos is in and all that stuff. And for me to split it, then we'd have to drill another well, which is like $40,000-50,000. Well, for the well and the electrical and the system and the, you know, pump house and all that stuff. And that just doesn't make sense. So basically, my two options are to go to a limited common element with that roadway, which will, I mean, it'll work, it'll appease the people on Farmington Way. I just foresee it being an issue down the road, and I guess, more than likely, I probably won't be affiliated with those condos when that problem arises, but I really don't want to be the one that set them up for failure. So I don't want to leave it like that, or else the private road. So basically, the condo dues for the homes on Zen Way will have to be substantially more than the condo dues for the houses on Farmington Way. And I think that might, I guess, cause some issues too with how cohesive the development is, and for me for selling them too. You know, people are gonna be asking me why Farmington Way is the condo dues are 175 and on Zen Way they're 275. You know, it just doesn't really make sense. I guess I didn't expect it to be an issue when I initially proposed the 33-unit development, because it was supposed to be one cohesive unit, and now they want to split. So I
The
guess I should have done
residents
the private road first.
The residents want to split.
The residents want to split.
And why do they want to split?
Because the people who live on Farmington Way
Yeah.
and Chambers Crossing
Yeah.
know that they're on a public road, so they don't have to worry about snow removal or having
Right.
that road resurfaced in 20 years.
Right.
And now they see me putting in Zenway, and even though I'm paying for Zenway, they're like, well, who's going to plow that road? I'm like, well, the same company that plows all the driveways. Well, we shouldn't have to pay to plow that road, because that road doesn't help us. We don't care about that road. So they're just thinking, since they're on a public road, they don't want any part of the private road.
When people bought properties on Farmington Way, were they required to receive the HOA documents that would have outlined that Hayes Zen Way is going to be the responsibility of that condo association?
Well, they did receive all the condo documents, and it has a copy of the condo plat in there, and on the condo plat, it notes that it's a private road, but I think it's not a lot of people said they didn't know, so I don't know if people didn't really go through the condo documents, or if they didn't look at the plat that shows it as a private road, and it's not really something that I thought I had to bring up. It's like they're buying a condo and it's part of a 33-unit development. I told people there's gonna be another road going in behind there, and now it's now it's an issue, so.
Well, I guess I'm still open to considering it. But the bigger concern I have now is on the zoning side of things and lot sizes. So I'm glad you didn't let that one slip past me. So that is a bit of a concern. I'm seeing spots that are 65 feet wide. But that may be, from zoning side, they may look at that and go, yeah, in this scenario with this situation, that's maybe okay, or maybe something else can happen. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm open to considering it.
I give you, from the perspective of someone who's, on planning and zoning, and knowing some of those, from their experience, I'd like to see what planning and zoning has to, where they would come in on some of this, but typically, planning and zoning is always going to be looking at, what do we have on the books right now? Because, ideally, we have other people who come into the village and want to do additional developments. So that's my biggest concern with this right now, is if we make this exception, and this is a nice development, I'd like to make the exception, but then how do we balance making the exception you know, under the next circumstance, you know, that comes down the road like that. Typically in planning and zoning, when we're looking at stuff, we look at, you know, what do we have on the books right now? What does our ordinance say? What is the best practice that we've had in place? And we try to follow that, you know. Would this be something, you know, I don't know why, like a PDD? Because
It's similar to one.
it's similar to a PDD.
It would definitely have to be PDD because with the wetlands where they're at, there's no way that you could do a conventional
Right.
development back there. Or like the conservation by design thing. I mean, that huge stormwater pond and all
Yeah.
that green space around there. I mean, it's going to be nice if somebody takes care of it.
It's going to be real nice.
And, you know, if we, I mean, that road is going to go in no matter what. But if it was proposed as a regular residential development, it would have never happened because there wasn't room to do it. And the cost to, you know, put that road in to get 3 lots or whatever we would have got, it would just never worked out. So now there's 16 homes going on that private road, so 16 homes, and each one's going to pay, what, $7,000 in property taxes? I mean, the village should, you know, benefit from that somewhat, whether it's a private road or a public road. I mean, you're going to get the tax dollars off.
Right.
That being said, you will never see another private road from me, so,
No matter what, right?
no matter what.
But you've done some pretty creative things with roads in the past and other developments as well, so, but it sounds like you got a headache with this one, and probably not a headache that you wish to have.
Very true.
Yeah.
I feel the same way as trustee Romas and President Van Rossum, that I would like to see this go through yet, but I have those same kind of concerns about, you know, we're setting ourselves up for, you know, future developers to kind of want to come in and say, well, you did this, and so I don't know, I guess we'll have to see what else can maybe happen.
Trustee McKeefery.
The precedence does scare me considerably, so I'm in agreement with all of you as well. But obviously, I feel the concerns of the residents on, I understand their plight, I get it, you know, I mean, a part of me is still kind of looking at it from the perspective of, this was known, though, initially, right? Maybe not fully understood. And I wasn't around, I guess I'm not familiar with how this all came about, whether Zenway was something that was added on after, or if this was something that everyone was pretty much aware of before, but I'm getting the impression everybody was familiar with that this was.
Well, it was all part of the original plat, so everybody should have been aware of it, yes.
So
Were
that
they-
kind of puts me on that, well, you know, I understand, it maybe wasn't something that was understood fully at the time.
Did they understand the cost?
Nobody ever asked about it. So basically, the cost to plow the road is relatively minimal, because if I've got a contractor there that's gonna plow 33 driveways, they're gonna plow the driveway, I mean, for next winter, I've got a guy that's gonna plow the Zenway or whatever, for $150 per event, as long as he's plowing, you know, at least, you know, 25 driveways or something like that. And then I'll have to pay him to salt the road as well. But, you know, in the greater scheme of things, that's minor. The bigger issue is when it has to be resurfaced in, you know, what Andy said, probably 25, 30 years, something like that. You know, then all of a sudden they're gonna end up with, I have no idea what's gonna cost to resurface the road 30 years from now, you know, $1 million. I don't know, it's.
Right.
It's expensive now, so it'll be expensive then, too.
Sure.
You know, so that's where the issue is gonna fall, I guess. And I don't know how to avoid it other than, either putting really high condo dues on the new condos on Zenway, or else, you know, having the village take over the road, and I guess I've gotten some preliminary numbers, and it's probably gonna cost me between $70,000 and $100,000 to move that road from a private road up to a public road by the time I redo the intersection and engineering and all that stuff. And, you know, if I eat that cost now, it just might make everything better in future, you know, I mean, I do want the village to take it over as a public road, but if it gets denied and I can save a whole pile of money, I mean, I just hope I don't hear about it in the future.
No, I hear what you're saying. All right, so let's talk about our options here. So the options are laid out where the village could outright accept the road as a public road with the stipulations as stated and the changes made here. We could, as a group here of 4, we could say, hey, this really doesn't make sense right now. I don't think the village should accept this as a public road. Those are 2 options. Is there another option? Is there, if this was to be referred back to work out the details, that's, when we talk about working out the details, that's where we start to spend money with Verbicker, right?
Correct. So I already had Verbecker do like just a preliminary thing that cost me $500 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you have to add this much curb, if you have to add this much asphalt, if you have to cut out that intersection, kind of ballpark what it, theoretically could be. That's where I got the number between $70,000 and $100,000. But if you guys would say that, if Public Works agrees to, I guess, the specs and we can figure out the curb and the compaction and all that stuff, and Verbicker does the full engineering and the new stormwater and whatever has to be done, and I bring it back with, I guess, Andy's blessing or whatever you want to say, that, I would hope that the village would accept it, because then I just went through, $10,000 of engineering and weeks of, stuff with the engineering company.
And if I can chime in, so that is part of the risk too, Scott, is that, as you see, there's a few board members missing, and
I do.
so regardless of what they would vote on or their direction tonight, it could change when you come back for that final plat, if that's something that you do. I just want to make sure that everyone is crystal clear that whatever the board motions tonight is not a finality to the decision.
I totally understand that. That's fine. I just, if the consensus is that don't waste your time, well, then I just won't waste my time. But if it's a reasonably, good possibility, then, I would move forward, so.
I think my position on it is if you can solve the issue of the lot sizes and et cetera, then I'm perfectly fine with it. But that might be a big reach, right? But it also might be something you can just go back and say, hey, how can we shift these around to actually get the 70-foot that currently is a single family, the smallest one is 70 feet. I mean, you're pretty close. You got 45 foot and it looks like 10 foot between. You're already at 55 on several of them.
So I guess I don't know how that would work, because all the water
Neither
and
do I.
sewers and stuff already.
Okay.
Already in.
All right, so that stuff's already in.
All the utilities and services are in to each unit.
So between now and then, well, the next board meeting is April 2nd?
Correct.
April 2nd. So, I wonder if it would be, would it make sense to refer this to planning and zoning for their impression on this?
Sorry, April 6th is your next board meeting.
April 6th. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I guess you got to make a decision on it. So that is true. There are 3 different board members who could vote much differently and, could balance this for sure. My point being is I would like to see how planning and zoning interprets this. Are they going to see this as potentially a spot zoning? Something that's just completely different than what we've typically done? I don't know the answer to that.
It wouldn't be a spot zoning, it
Well,
would
that's just
be,
a broad term.
it'd almost be like if he was to go through the zoning board of appeals. It'd almost be kind of like that process where you're saying, hey, I know you have a zoning code, I don't want to follow it for XYZ hardship. Would the zoning board of appeals grant a waiver of the zoning code? It's almost more like that kind of an issue. So it wouldn't be spot zoning. Spot zoning would not be your concern.
No,
It would
that's
be
not-
just
you're
a,
right.
ignoring of your current zoning code.
Well, I mean, we're kind of running into the issue too of, these plots haven't been sold yet, correct?
Just the first one is sold.
So, what is the belief that people wouldn't want to be that close? Having their homes that close together? Would it be difficult to sell them? Because if we were to bring the road up to public specs, right? Now we've got these other concessions where we've discussed them, but, thinking about it from a private buyer, You know, I know I personally wouldn't want to live that close to somebody, but I mean, I'm curious, and there's a lot of people not like me. So does that cause a concern? I mean,
Well-
kind of leaning towards maybe having planning and zoning discuss it as well, but.
I guess if the right-of-way gets a lot, or if the roadway gets a lot wider, then, I mean, yeah, it probably would cause issues. If the roadway can stay the same width that it is and the right-of-way just gets a little bit wider, I don't think that's really a huge concern.
We would want a 60-foot right-of-way probably through the middle. But I think the question is the setback from that right-of-way then, because I don't know, it's hard, I don't have a scale, I don't know how exactly far those buildings will be, if that's 10 feet or if that's 25 feet, you know? That's kind of the question here is,
Yeah.
I feel like if you can make it 25 feet from the proposed right-of-way, well, I think you're, got a better discussion at that point. But if you're at 12 feet from the proposed right-of-way, that's a different discussion, I think, is where I think they're going with this.
And I believe
Yeah, I would
it's the
agree.
latter, where we're actually closer to that right-of-way than.
So I think we almost would need, and I know this costs money, but maybe see an overlay of where the roadway, the right-of-way, and where your buildings sit, and have some dimensions in between, you know, to scale, just so we all can see exactly how it shapes itself through, you know, the curvature of the road and where the angle of those buildings. That gives everybody a real visual of kind of what we would potentially be accepting here, right?
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Now, that shouldn't cost that much, at least it's a good visual to everybody, maybe go to the planning and zoning with that visual first, knowing that they kind of dictate the rules and stuff with development, and then bring it back to here. And I feel like the Public Works and Utility Commission is kind of like, you know, where Mike is at, where if we can make it work, I think they're supportive of it. I think more it comes down to is where we're at from a zoning standpoint, and having that visual, I think, would really help. Just lay it out for everybody to see.
I
what-
mean, I'm 100% there. If there's a way that we can make this work, I'd like to make it work.
Right.
But I need to make I need to make it work within our current planning and zoning. And, you know, the issue of, you know, if you're talking, like you said, if there's a car coming around with a 10-feet clearance, there's going to be some concerns there, I think. So maybe that's right. Maybe getting those distances and those numbers in here would be helpful. Planning and zoning is going to give you a pretty strong indication. There are 2 board members that sit on planning and zoning and make their recommendation to the board. And you've already got 4 board members here who, I think if I'm reading the board, nobody's really actually opposed to it. It's just, it's not, let's just move forward with it either. We need to get a little bit more detail. And it's not kicking the can down the road by any means, but it's having that detail in place.
Okay.
Well, and that's why we have planning and zoning. I mean, so really, they should look at this, you know, and then come back to us again.
Agree.
And, you know, as far as condos and density goes, you know, you have a bigger yard. I have, you know, a bigger yard. So maybe this isn't my cup of tea right now, but you know what? I could see eventually where it certainly would be, not having a big yard to mow and, you know, neighbors to talk to occasionally, it might be okay.
I agree.
And that's kind of my thought process of the strategy too,
It's
is
neighborhood.
realize the laterals are there. You might not get the 70, but you might get a different PDD. Like
Maybe.
you had mentioned earlier, conservation by design or whatever, something like that. Because I agree, condos are not meant to be as wide a lots as single-family dwellings.
Right.
Does that work?
I'm sorry?
Is that
Enough of a
an
direction?
acceptable path forward?
If we go with the PDD instead of condos?
Just more the direction, I think, right?
Getting the distances, you know, getting the actual numbers in there. that-
Oh, I can get the road or
And then having
Right,
planning
right.
and zoning look at it,
yeah, that's fine.
that would,
And bring it back to the board with more detail, yeah. I would-
well, you're gonna
When
get a
is
recommendation out of planning and zoning, and that
Right.
should be meaningful.
yeah.
When does the planning commission meet?
Would be April 13th.
Okay, April 13th, and we'll come back to the April 6th meeting for the recommendation.
Yeah, we're gonna do it retro, we're gonna get in our time travel machine.
Our
It's on the end of
conversation will
Zen
be
Way.
just as
April
long on the
20th would
6th.
be the next board meeting after that.
All right.
We're having a
Is that
meeting on the
okay?
6th with all
That's
the
fine.
election stuff?
We are.
Okay.
I guess my biggest thing is I want to get this resolved, well, I mean, as soon as possible, but once spring comes, I want to kind of get the contractors lined up to finish the road. And
Yeah.
obviously, we still have our road weight restrictions or whatever, so I'm not going to be building in roads anytime in the next couple of weeks, I don't think, right?
Nope, definitely not.
And Andy, you could just extend those.
Yeah, we could
Okay.
just hold off on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we can you can tweak a few more things to make it come in a little closer to what we have, what we would like.
All right. Andy, could you send me an email with the right-of-way and specs, what you guys?
Yep. Will do.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Okay,
Kyle.
thank you. Thanks for everything you do for the village as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Item 7D this evening. 7D is naming the new street sweeper. This was
Oh,
trustee.
you've got the old agenda.
Son of a gun, I do.
It's-
All right, let's go. Who's got the new agenda?
It's ratification of disaster. I buried my agenda somewhere in my pile.
We're at the March
Oh, here
Blizzard
it is.
verbal recap.
There it is. Yes, so let's skip naming the street sweeper, although I was looking forward to that.
Me too.
So Director Smits, seems like your show this evening.
It is.
Now we have the March Blizzard verbal recap.
No, honestly.
All right, well, we just had about 26 and a half inches of snow, I think is what we had recorded that fell for us. It happened over Sunday, Monday, and I'd like to thank all the public works staff that helped plow snow for a lot of hours in a row. They definitely stayed after it and woke up each morning really, really early and stayed late each night, so we were able to kind of stay ahead of it the best we could. We worked about 17 hours on Sunday and about 11 or 12 on Monday, and then tapered down to our normal shift and just kept scraping and grinding all week long. Spent a lot of money on everything throughout the week. We're hoping to maybe qualify for some disaster relief funding, but we'll see if that gets approved. But thankfully, everything kind of went well, and we did have a few hiccups and got stuck a bunch of times and broke a few things, but we tried to minimize damage as much as possible. But we do have some grass to replant here this spring in a lot of people's yards, so apologize for everybody that's watching on that. But yeah, the guys did a really good job, and it was definitely a true blizzard. I mean, there was definitely whiteout conditions for a large part of it where you couldn't see nothing.
Well, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation for your team, because they were absolutely on top of it from what my experience and perspective was, and just from our driveway, watching my husband try to manage that with the neighbor. I mean, I can't even imagine. So this was a real doozy, and excellent job, and just please keep up the good work and pass it on to your team.
Will do, thank you.
And tell your team not to feel too bad about that grass, because my job was my driveway and the sidewalk, and I managed to get onto the grass on the sidewalk. I think it
With your shovel?
the snow blower. It's like, I missed by about 4 inches. I'm looking out and going, oops. Anyway, yeah, nice work. I was kind of hoping to see the street sweeper come by and clean out that big pile of snow at the end of my driveway, but, maybe next year.
Always next year.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of positive things. Occasionally, you're always going to get somebody who complains, obviously, but you have to know the gravity of the situation, and how much snow was out there, and how many hours these guys were putting in, and there's safety factors to be considered and everything else. So I think it worked out quite well,
Yeah.
given the circumstance. Let's not do that again.
No.
This year.
Absolutely.
April's still not on us.
Anything?
Yeah. No, great job, and, thankfully, a lot of people just stayed off the roads.
Because you couldn't get out of your driveway.
Well, I could.
All right. So that was 8A. Now we go into this is 8A, ratification of disaster declaration. Minister Kager.
All right, thank you. So following up to that, the state of Wisconsin does provide for disaster relief. There is a fund for that. There are a number of administrative steps that need to be taken. One is a declaration of disaster within 48 hours of the event. And I did request that President Van Rossum declare such last week, so he obliged. The next step would be for the village board to ratify that disaster declaration. And then that really just, all that does is now it opens us up for the potential to be reimbursed through the state of Wisconsin. There's some more steps that we have to go through. There are certain dollar amount thresholds that we have to meet, and we're still working through the calculations of that. There's also the potential that typically the costs have to be incurred within 48 hours of the event. Sometimes they'll extend that deadline, and we're hoping that they do in this circumstance. And if they do, we think we might be able to qualify with that dollar threshold. So we're still playing around with that. But the request tonight is for the village board to ratify the disaster declaration dated March 17th, 2026. Any comments or questions on that?
No, I'll offer a motion, if there are no comments or questions, I'll offer a motion to ratify the disaster declaration dated March 17th, 2026.
I'll second. Oh,
I have a second from trustee McKeefery. Are there further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
All right, item number 8 this evening, discussion on future agenda items. Anyone with a future agenda item,
I have one.
please?
Well, I was at the Election Day contingency plan for the Village of Suamico meeting this, on the 17th. And one of the items that was brought up was that if they run out of power, they don't really have an option besides letting the 2-hour battery for the machines die. And I was like, well, those are just batteries for voting machines. We should be able to get a small generator at each one of the locations, or at least for the election people. So I'd like us to consider as a board allocating, obviously we can't tonight, but a not to exceed number of $2,500 for 3 portable generators, extension cord, and, well, propane tank if necessary. I kind of like that because then they can sit for a long time and the gas doesn't come off. Although Andy's team would make sure that doesn't happen, but anyway.
We do have a trailerable generator as well. So we have a 60 kW trailer generator that we could, use at one of the
It's a
locations.
monster, yeah.
It is, but it's
Yeah.
actually just as quiet as a little one that you can pick up, and you could hook that up outside
So
too.
we've got 2 generators currently. We have the, like, little
Correct.
4,000 watt one
Yep.
that you have here.
And then we have a
That is
60.
somewhat portable, 2 people could
Yep.
handle it. And we got a trailerable one.
Mhm.
So what okay, then I would probably go with 3 still, but, because we're talking about $800 a generator.
What does our fire department have for generators?
I'm not sure off the top of my
Could,
head.
could staff look into that?
Yeah. let's
See
see.
check the availability of generators so that we would have backup, potential backup power.
I would think we, as a village, we would have
You would
enough,
think we would, right?
enough generators on hand to handle this.
Sure, if we
And
put a
what-
call out,
And
everybody,
it's-
I've got a
but
generator.
The
No, I'm with
plan-
you.
the
No, I'm
plan
with
is
you.
good,
I'm
though.
with you.
The plan's good.
If we have them already, there's no sense buying them.
Let's have staff
Right.
look
I
at it.
If
completely agree.
anything, it'd just be to put together a plan in
Yeah.
case of
Yeah.
emergency.
Put
Then they
together a
can-
plan.
Then they can take that section off
Something
their
simple, yeah.
emergency thing. They can say, here's our plan.
Right,
Okay.
right. Good.
I have one unless someone else has one. You did? No? Okay, so earlier this week, last week, Tuesday, I was at the Duck Creek Veterans of Foreign Wars. I was there discussing with them participation during their Memorial Day celebration coming up, which looks like quite an event. I'd recommend everybody goes. It's really something what these guys are going to be putting together. One of the things that came up, and I was asked there were 2 residents from the village of Suamico who identified themselves. They asked, what is Suamico doing, or what does Suamico have planned for the 250-year anniversary of our country in terms of a special event? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not sure we have anything planned. But I know that we have a Park and Rec director who's very good at planning such things, potentially, and is very, very event savvy.
Downtown Suamico Cycling Group.
Wow, yeah, well, there is that. Is there a piece of that focused on? Maybe not, that's different.
Not currently.
So I would like to refer that, if Director Lemke, if you're not the person to refer that to, maybe others. But, for a small amount of money, we've got this cycling event that we're doing. Is that something that we could do, a 250-year, small celebration, maybe in conjunction with the Historical Society next door? Something like that.
I think we want to leverage another association like the Historical Society. I
Yeah.
believe they are doing something. We can follow up with them on
That would be great. I was just asked by citizens, so wonderful. That's all I had.
Do you need an agenda item for that, or you just want staff to follow up with that?
I don't know that we need an agenda item. Why don't we just have staff follow up and report back,
Okay.
right? And if we have something great, I don't think the board needs to dictate what that celebration will look like. I think Historical Society can probably do a pretty good job.
American flags
Right. All right,
and Constitution.
nothing else? Okay, item number 9, meeting adjournment. Anyone wish to offer a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you. Trustee McKeefery
Second.
has offered a motion to adjourn, and that was seconded by trustee
Roll
Andrews.
call. No, just kidding.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. That motion carries 4-0. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. And thank you, spectator. Possibly future board member. Good luck.
What would you have done? What would you have done with the streets, the street thing? Yeah.
So I think the two follow-up questions I have is, you know, when they obviously started, they built it, they did their budget, who then takes over the cost of the construction of the road? Does that go on the town? And then because they already planned for that, do they take the whole?
Okay.
No, the developers,
Yeah, and then from there on, you pay your dues, so that when it needs to be rebuilt, they have the funding for it.
Okay,
yeah.
but if the town takes over,
Then they don't have to worry about it.
they don't,
It's a good deal for them.
yeah, that's what I mean. So like, what's the advantage to the town then?
No
quorums,
so
no quorums.
That's kind of the crux. What's the public benefit? So if I'm Joe
Steve,
Schmo.
don't pay attention. You don't want to be caught in a quorum
I
now.
see my village board just adopted this private road as public. Now my opinion that what was a private road, why? What's the benefit?
I'll bring you a
That's what the
flyer.
board
It's
discusses.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, Memorial, and they're having a ceremony starting at St. John the